I feel like every light review I make, the light just keeps getting smaller and smaller across all the videos, and I don't know where we're gonna get to. Zhiyun? I'm not sure. Zhiyun sent me this light and asked me to make a video about it. I'm gonna talk about the things I like and things I don't like. Here is a bunch of test shots with commentary, and then after that there's the review of this light, what I think. So here's the first shot. I feel like I've been doing this way too often actually for a lot of my reviews, is I just do an overhead setup where I just boom the light overhead, make it a little bit too bright so that when I expose down the shot, it makes everything else darker. Here's another shot where I also did an overhead setup, and then to the side I also added an MT Pro, Aperture MT Pro with a TV effect, just so that it makes it look like I'm actually watching or playing on the TV. There's also a little bit of orange there in the background. There were just some lights on the table that I actually just left, just so I can have a little bit of color separation. Here's another scenario where I was just sitting on a table and there was harsh overhead lighting, so in that scenario I would have wanted to fill in my face a little bit more. So I just set up the X60 right outside a frame, and I just had it pointed towards a wall, and that wall happened to be a little bit more on the warm side, so the bounced light became also warm. This helped make it a little bit more flattering and less harsh on my head because there's a little bit more fill on my face. Here's another overhead shot. You can tell that I like overhead shots, right? And I was just, trying to make something look cool. I don't know, just screwing around. I added some fog, making it look dramatic. Here's a shot where I put it on another overhead rig and I just rotated the light stand around so that it would reveal and unreveal the controller. Goes to show how many things you can use this light for. It could be cinematic type shots, it could be corporate, it could be product shots. Here's another scenario where I just bounced it right off of the wall right next to me, and that gave some pretty nice soft lighting. It makes it look like there's a lamp next to me, but really it's just this light bouncing off a wall. Here's one more example where it's also bouncing off a wall, and I actually turned it to RGB mode on this one and made it green, and then I just kept the outside light open. It was just the normal tungsten light, but I made it a little bit more red in the grade, and so I was looking for that nice red and green vibe. I did, however, have to do a lot of grading for this because the green that I chose was really bright and saturated, so this is how the shot turned out after a Rec 709 LUT. So I had to heavily desaturate things and kind of fix up the white balance a little bit so that it looks a little more balanced. Here's a super extreme scenario where I just wanted to flood the entire room with light. So all I did is I set the red to full red mode and I bounced it off of that wall at the very left corner of the shot. You can see where it's overexposed. And in order to kind of fill in the light a little more, I added fog to the entire room. So I just fogged everything up, shot a light into a wall, and voila, you got red light. And then I thought maybe I should bring in the blue on the other side for some nice color separation. So I brought the MT Pro and just kept it on a blue hue and put it on the other side. Here's a shot where I just put the light against a 5-in-1 reflector and I bounced it off of it so that I can get a large and soft source. I just want to get an idea of how bright this light can be when you're bouncing it off while it's competing with other lights in the scene. Like for example, the daylight behind me or the lamp on the other side that's giving me a bit of a backlight. Here's a cool scenario where I put the light in between two flags so that it kind of shoots through the two flags and it creates a line. And then I just put a product in the middle just so I can, set up a shot. This was actually one of my favorite shots. It looks like there's actual sunlight coming in. And so I thought I'd throw in some fog too, just to try to see what that looks like. And yeah, that's it. Those are all the test shots I've been able to do recently. Feels like nowadays it's pretty useless to list the features of a light because all the features are basically the same now across all brands. You get some sort of proprietary mount or Bowens mount. If it's a proprietary mount, you can adapt it to Bowens. You get some sort of battery solution. You can hook it up to power. It's either bicolor or RGB. It has app control. I mean, every light has these things. So it just becomes about what kind of ecosystem you want to get yourself into and specific features that might appeal to you or not. For example, size. Do you like using it? Do you like holding it? I do. For me personally, I really like lights that already come with a Bowens mount because it makes things easier for me to just take something off, put something on, and I don't need to buy additional adapters or store them anywhere. And of course, I'm a little bit biased because I have everything aperture and amaran, and the reason I do is just so that I have to use one app rather than 2 or 3 or however many light manufacturers I have fixtures from. But I'm really jealous of this size. Like this is a very small size and the battery just hooks on in a beautiful way. I mean, it just feels, it's just so nice, and it holds nice. Also, this is RGB, right? It's not just a small bicolor light. It's small and bicolor and bright and RGB and battery powered. The fan is a bit noisy, especially if you're running it at 100%. It's not the best for audio critical work. The design and ergonomics of the light and how it feels and build quality, it's perfect. I literally love it so much. I love it more than the cold bore one that I reviewed in the last video. This feels more robust and like you can trust it, and I can tell that this will last. Other things I didn't like about the cold bore from the last video is that it had a really difficult way of mounting the battery. It has a really finicky way of doing it. With this, it's just, you know, yeah, I think Zhiyun is doing a lot of things right. Their lights are high quality, bright, they look nice, they feel nice, and it's really comfortable and fun to use. It makes me want to use this light, especially if I'm running and gunning, not in one location, and I'm just alone or with only one other person. This is a great light to operate.